The Council Grand Fleet was a sight that had never been seen before in the galaxy. 3,000 warships from 200 different worlds moved through space like a metal ocean of destruction. Each ship bristled with weapons that could shatter. Moons and their combined firepower could burn entire star systems to ash. Speaker Vextar had gathered every available vessel in Council territory for this final assault. Admiral Kim Young-ho watched the approaching armada from his command ship, hidden deep in the asteroid belt around him. 1,000 human vessels waited in perfect silence. Each ship was invisible to alien sensors using stealth technology that the Council had never encountered. The contrast was striking alien giants against human shadows. The enemy fleet was so large it took 6 hours just to pass through the outer solar system. Admiral Keith Venn, the new Council commander, had replaced the admiral who died in the first battle. He was confident that no force in the universe could stand against such overwhelming numbers. His ship spread out in a formation that covered millions of cubic miles of space. Captain Oh Soo-bin monitored alien communications from her position near Jupiter. The enemy commanders were arguing over tactics through their comm channels. Species that preferred long-range bombardment wanted to stay far from Earth. Species that favored close combat wanted to charge straight in. The diversity that should have made them stronger was creating confusion. The humans had studied this weakness for decades. Dr. Shin Hai-won had written entire research papers on how different alien species could not coordinate their fighting styles effectively. The peaceful species got in the way of the aggressive ones. The fast ships collided with the slow ones. The Council had never needed to solve these problems because their enemies had always surrendered quickly. Colonel Jang Hyo-jin waited in the command bunker deep beneath the Earth's surface. His finger hovered over the activation switch for the solar system's hidden defenses. Throughout the inner planets, thousands of weapon platforms disguised as space debris were ready to reveal themselves. The entire system had been turned into one massive trap. The Council fleet entered the inner solar system expecting to find Earth defended by a few hundred primitive vessels. Instead, they found what appeared to be completely empty space. No human ships were visible on their sensors. No defensive platforms could be detected. Even Earth itself seemed to have no orbital defenses. Admiral Keith Venn was confused but not worried. "Where are their ships?" he asked his tactical officer. "Surely they have not fled the system." The officer studied his displays and shook his head. "Sir, we detect no enemy vessels anywhere. Our sensors show only empty space and scattered debris." This was exactly what the humans wanted. The aliens began searching for the hidden fleet, spreading their massive formation even wider to cover more area. They fired sensor pulses in all directions, trying to locate human ships that remained perfectly invisible. Their confusion grew with each passing hour. Captain Song Ji-hun positioned his stealth squadron just miles away from the alien flagship. He could see the enemy bridge through his optical sensors and watched the Council officers growing more frustrated. The aliens had expected to fight a traditional battle with visible enemies. Instead, they faced an opponent that refused to follow the rules. On Earth, Commander Ryu Soo-jin coordinated the defense from her underground war room. Her screens showed the positions of every ship in both fleets. The aliens were spread out across the entire inner solar system, exactly where the humans needed them to be. She spoke into her headset with calm authority. "All units, this is command. The enemy has taken the bait. Begin Operation Ghost Storm." The trap sprang with devastating effectiveness. Colonel Jang Hyo-jin activated the hidden weapon platforms, and suddenly the empty solar system came alive with death. Thousands of automated guns emerged from asteroids, moons, and space stations that had looked like harmless debris. The alien fleet found itself surrounded by enemies firing from every direction. The Council ships tried to respond, but they could not target weapons that looked like natural objects. Admiral Keith Venn watched in horror as his vessels were destroyed by asteroids that suddenly sprouted missile launchers and beam cannons. His perfect formation became a death trap as hidden guns fired from all sides. Captain Park Yejin led the first wave of human ships out of hyperspace. Her squadron materialized directly behind the alien rear guard, fired a devastating volley, and vanished back into stealth mode before the enemies could react. 3 Council battleships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. and the human ships disappeared like ghosts. The alien fleet tried to regroup, but the humans had anticipated. This response, Admiral Kim Young-ho coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Human ships appeared fired and vanished in a deadly dance that the aliens could not counter. Their massive numbers became a disadvantage as ships collided with each other, trying to avoid invisible attackers. Commander Yang Su-bin brought her heavy cruisers out of the shadow of Mars. Her ships had been hiding behind the planet, using its bulk to mask their presence. Now they struck at the alien flank with weapons that had been charging for hours. The surprise attack shattered an entire Council battle group. The space battle became a nightmare for the alien forces. They were being attacked by enemies they could not see, using tactics they did not understand. Human ships phased in and out of visibility like demons, appearing and disappearing at will. The Council fleet began to panic as more ships exploded without warning. Admiral Keth Ven tried to coordinate a response, but his communications were being jammed by human electronic warfare specialists. His orders could not reach most of his fleet, and the ships that did receive them were too confused to follow instructions effectively. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Captain Oh Min-soo watched from his battleship as the alien center began to collapse. Enemy vessels were firing at shadows and hitting their own allies. Human attacks came from above, below, and all sides simultaneously. The three-dimensional nature of space combat was something the aliens had never truly mastered. Dr. Yoon-Hai Ri had predicted this exact scenario in her tactical studies. Most alien species thought of space battles as naval combat with ships arranged in flat formations. But humans understood that space had no up or down, no front or back. Every direction was a potential attack vector. The Council fleet tried to retreat but found their escape routes blocked by more human ships. Captain Lee Dong-woo had positioned his squadron at the system edge, ready to intercept fleeing enemies. The aliens were trapped in a killing field of their own making with no way out. As the battle raged on, the true genius of the human plan became clear. The aliens had brought every ship they could gather, creating the largest fleet in galactic history. But this concentration of forces had left the rest of Council territory completely undefended. While the fleet died in the Sol system, human agents were already moving to liberate oppressed worlds. The Battle of Sol lasted 3 days and ended with the complete annihilation of the Council Grand Fleet. Only a handful of alien ships escaped to carry news of the disaster back to Council space. The mighty Galaxy Council had gambled everything on one massive assault and lost. The morning sun was just rising over Sol when the alien ship appeared in the sky above Earth. The massive vessel was black as midnight and shaped like a giant sword pointing down at the planet below. It blocked out the sun over 3 major cities and cast a shadow that stretched for hundreds of miles. Kim Dae was drinking his morning coffee in the Terran Empire Command Center when the alarm started screaming Lee. So-min, his young assistant, rushed into the room with her tablet in hand. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking slightly. "Sir, we have a problem," she said, "a big one. The ship just appeared out of nowhere. Our sensors didn't detect it until it was already here." Kim Dae set down his coffee cup and looked at the main screen. The alien vessel hung in space like a dark cloud of doom, but his expression remained calm. "We knew this day would come," he said quietly. "Call the emergency meeting. Get everyone here within the hour." The command center filled up quickly. Admiral Park Jin-woo arrived first, still wearing his workout clothes from the military gym. His hair was messy, but his eyes were sharp and focused. General Choi Min-ho came next, dressed in his full uniform with all his medals shining. Dr. Yoon-Hai Ri hurried, in carrying 3 different tablets and looking worried. The room buzzed with nervous energy as more leaders arrived. The alien message came at exactly noon Earth time. It was broadcast on every radio, television, and internet channel across the planet. The voice that spoke was cold and mechanical, like a computer trying to sound threatening. The words were translated into every human language, but the meaning was clear and simple. Submit or die. Speaker. Vex Tar of the Galaxy Council sends greetings. To the primitive species of the 3rd planet, the message began. You have been selected for integration into the galactic community under Council rule. This is not a request. This is a command. You have 30 days to comply with the following demands. Kim Dae listened to the list with growing anger. but his face showed nothing. The aliens wanted Earth to surrender all military technology, disband all armed forces, and accept council governors to rule over human territories. They demanded that Earth pay tribute of 1 million tons of rare metals every year. They wanted human scientists to work as slaves in council research facilities. They expected Earth to provide soldiers for council armies. The most insulting demand came last. All human leaders must present themselves to the nearest council outpost for judgment and possible execution. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species and the conversion of your planet into a council mining facility. You have been warned. The UNT message ended and the room fell silent. Kim Dae looked around the table at the faces of Earth's most powerful people. He saw anger in Admiral Parks, eyes determination in General Choi's, jaw and calculation in Dr. Yoon's expression, but he also saw something else. He saw the quiet confidence of people who had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. Admiral Park spoke first. They think we're just another weak species they can push around. His voice was steady, but Kim Dae could hear the anger underneath. They have no idea what humans can do when someone threatens our home. General Choi nodded and pulled up a holographic map of Earth and the surrounding solar system. We have been watching the Council for 50 years, he said. We know how they operate. They send ultimatums to new species and most surrender without fighting. The few who resist get crushed by overwhelming force. Dr. Yoon activated her tablets and the air above the table filled with blue lights showing data charts and technical diagrams. But we are not like other species, she said quietly. We don't think like them, we don't fight like them, and we definitely don't surrender like them. The holographic displays showed Earth's hidden defenses, secret shipyards built inside, asteroids, advanced weapons that looked like space junk, stealth technology that could make entire fleets invisible, manufacturing facilities hidden on the dark side of the moon, military bases disguised as research stations. The Council had been watching Earth for decades, but they had only seen what humans wanted them to see. Kim Dae stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over the city below. He could see people going about their normal daily lives, shopping for groceries, walking their dogs, playing in parks. They had no idea that their entire civilization was being threatened by aliens from across the galaxy. The Council made their first mistake, he said, without turning around. They assumed we would react like every other species they have conquered. They think fear will make us weak, but they don't understand humans at all, Lee. So Min looked up from her tablet. Sir, the Global Defense Network is asking for orders. All military units are ready and waiting. The hidden fleets are in position. The weapon platforms are charged and ready to fire. What should I tell them? Kim Dae turned back to face the room. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with quiet fury. Tell them to wait, he said. The Council wants an answer. In 30 days we will give them one. But not the answer they expect. Admiral Park smiled, and it was not a nice smile. They sent one ship to intimidate us. One ship against an entire planet. They really don't understand humans, do they? General Choi pulled up more tactical displays showing Council fleet movements near Earth. The aliens had ships positioned throughout the solar system, but they were staying far away from Earth itself. They want to see our reaction first, he explained. They want to watch us panic and beg for mercy. Dr. Yoon shook her head. These aliens have conquered 200 species over 3,000 years, but every single one of those species either surrendered immediately or fought in traditional ways. Large fleets meeting in open space. Planets trying to defend themselves with fixed fortifications. They have never faced an enemy like us. Kim Dae sat back down and looked at each person around the table. We have spent 50 years preparing for this day, he said. We have studied their technology, their tactics, their psychology. We know their weaknesses better than they know their own strengths. The room filled with quiet laughter as the human leaders shared a moment of dark humor. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitive savages who would fall to their knees at the first sign of superior force. Instead, they had challenged a species that had been planning for this confrontation for half a century. Send our response. Kim Day ordered. Tell the Galaxy Council that Earth declines their generous offer. Tell them that humans do not surrender and we do not serve. And tell them that if they want our planet, they are welcome to try and take it, Lee. So Min typed the message with steady fingers. The response was short, simple, and polite on the surface. But every human in the room knew it was actually a declaration of war. The Galaxy Council had made their ultimatum. Now they would learn what happened when you threatened humanity. The alien ship still hung, in the sky above Earth, casting its shadow over the cities below. But the shadow no longer seemed threatening. Instead, it looked like a target waiting for human weapons to find it. The Council thought their ultimatum would terrify Earth into submission. Instead, it had awakened something they were not prepared to face. The trap was set, and the aliens had walked right into it. The Great Council chambers had never seen such chaos in 3,000 years of galactic domination. Speaker Vex Tar stood before the assembled representatives of 200 species and watched his empire begin to crumble. The news from the human solar system had spread like wildfire across Council space. 50 warships destroyed by an invisible enemy. Military Commander Zep Han slammed his massive clawed fist on the marble table hard enough to crack the ancient stone. We must gather every ship in the galaxy and crush these humans before they infect other species with ideas of rebellion, he roared. His reptilian face was twisted with rage, and his yellow eyes burned with hatred. But Intelligence Chief Mordak shook her head slowly. Her insect-like features remained calm even as panic filled the chamber around her. We have tried to send spy ships into human space, she said in her clicking voice. Every vessel we dispatch simply vanishes. Our agents never return. Our probes are destroyed before they can gather information. The chamber erupted in angry voices as representatives from dozens of species demanded answers. How had a single primitive planet defeated the Council's finest fleet? How had the humans hidden their true capabilities for so long? What other secrets were they hiding in their small corner of the galaxy on the ocean world of Aquatica? Ambassador Delphin spoke for the water-dwelling species. Perhaps we should consider negotiation. These humans have proven they are not as weak as we believed. Maybe we can find a peaceful solution that benefits everyone. The chamber fell silent as other representatives stared at him in shock. Speaker Vex Tar turned his burning gaze toward the water ambassador. Negotiation, said the word like it tasted bitter in his mouth. The Galaxy Council does not negotiate with primitive species. We rule, we command. We destroy those who refuse to obey. There will be no peace with these humans back on Earth. Director Nam Tae Woo sat in his underground intelligence facility, reading intercepted Council communications with growing amusement. His network of human spies had been watching the aliens for decades, learning their languages, studying their technology, and mapping their weaknesses. The panic in the Council chambers was exactly what he had expected. His assistant, Young Min Ji, handed him another decoded message. Sir, the Council is pulling ships from border patrol duties. They are gathering vessels from every sector of their territory. It looks like they are planning something massive. Nam Tae-woo smiled as he read the tactical reports. The aliens were making exactly the mistakes that human strategists had predicted. General Park Min-soo presented his battle plans to the Terran leadership in the Seoul Command Center. The holographic displays showed ship movements throughout Council space and human preparations in the solar system. The aliens are doing exactly what we hoped they would do, he explained. They are concentrating their forces instead of spreading them out. Admiral Kim Young Ho studied the enemy fleet compositions with professional interest. Most alien species fight the same way they have for thousands of years. Large ships firing big guns in straight lines. They have never learned to adapt because they never needed to. Every enemy they faced before was weaker and less advanced. Dr. Lee Yun-ji, the Empire's chief psychologist, had spent her career studying alien behavior patterns. The Council rules through fear and intimidation, she explained to the assembled military leaders. When that fails, they escalate to overwhelming force. They cannot imagine any other way to solve problems. The psychological profiles showed that most Council species were either completely peaceful or completely warlike. The peaceful species had surrendered immediately when the council arrived. The warlike species had fought traditional battles and lost quickly. Humans were the first species that could be both peaceful and violent, depending on the situation. Kim Dai listened to the reports from his office high above the city below. Through his window, he could see people living normal lives, going to work, attending school, playing in parks. The alien threat seemed very far away, but he knew it was growing larger every day. The council was preparing their ultimate response. Intelligence reports showed council fleets gathering at staging areas throughout their territory. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different worlds were being assembled into the largest military force in galactic history. The aliens were betting everything on one massive assault that would crush human resistance forever. Commander Ryu Su-jin coordinated human preparations from her war room deep beneath the mountains. Her screens showed defensive positions being prepared throughout the solar system. Hidden weapon platforms were being activated. Stealth fleets were moving into ambush positions. The trap was being set on a scale never before attempted. The council made their third mistake. Instead of trying to understand human tactics or negotiate a peaceful solution, they decided to use brute force. Speaker Vex Tar addressed the galaxy with a message that was broadcast to every world in council space. "The human rebellion will be crushed," he declared. "No species can stand against the combined might of the Galaxy Council Captain." Osu Bin watched alien fleet movements from her position in the asteroid belt. The enemy ships were gathering into massive formations that stretched across entire star systems. She had never seen so many warships in one place. The aliens were preparing for the largest space battle in galactic history. Dr. Yoon Hayri analyzed the alien fleet compositions and found exactly what she expected. The council was bringing ships from every member species, but they had never trained together. Each species had different fighting styles, different weapons, different tactics. The diversity that should have been their greatest strength was actually a critical weakness. The peaceful species contributed support ships and transports, but had no experience in actual combat. The aggressive species brought powerful warships, but were used to fighting alone rather than as part of a coordinated fleet. The council had never needed to integrate different fighting styles, because their enemies had always been too weak to require it. Colonel Jang Hyo-jin prepared the solar system's hidden defenses for the coming battle. Weapon platforms disguised as asteroids were positioned throughout the inner system. Automated defense networks were activated on every moon and space station. The entire solar system was being turned into one giant trap. News of the council fleet buildup reached Earth through human spy networks. The aliens were gathering over 3,000 warships from across their territory. It would be the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. No force had ever stood against such overwhelming numbers and survived, but Kim Dae felt no fear as he read the intelligence reports. The council was doing exactly what human planners had hoped they would do. They were concentrating all their forces in one place, making themselves vulnerable to the kind of coordinated attack that humans specialized in. The aliens thought their massive fleet was unstoppable. They were about to learn that size was not always an advantage in space warfare. 3 days after Earth sent their refusal message, the Galaxy Council responded with violence. Speaker Vextar was furious that a primitive planet had dared to reject his ultimatum. He gathered 50 of the Council's finest warships and sent them to teach humanity a lesson. The fleet was massive and powerful, with weapons that could crack planets in half. The alien commander, Admiral Keith Ron, was confident as his ships entered the solar system. He had conquered 12 species in his long career, and humans would be just another victory on his record. His ships spread out in perfect formation, ready to bombard Earth into submission. But something strange happened. As soon as they crossed into human space, every single alien ship vanished from their own sensors. Admiral Keth Ron stared at his displays in confusion. His instruments showed empty space where his fleet should be. The communication channels were silent. His navigation systems could not find Earth or any of the human colonies. It was as if the entire solar system had disappeared. Captain Song Ji-hun watched the alien fleet from his stealth cruiser, hidden just a few miles away from the lead enemy ship. His vessel was completely invisible to alien technology, using advanced cloaking systems that bent light and energy around the hull. He could see the aliens firing their sensors in all directions, desperately trying to find something, anything to target. The human had been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Every ship in the Terran fleet was equipped with stealth technology that made them ghosts in space. The aliens had superior firepower and stronger shields, but they could not fight what they could not see. Song Ji-hun smiled as he watched the enemy admiral, Panic-On Earth Commander Ryu Soo-jin, coordinated the battle from the underground war room. Her screens showed the positions of every ship in both fleets. The aliens were visible to human sensors, but the humans were completely hidden from alien detection. She spoke into her headset with calm authority. All units, this is command. The enemy fleet is confused and vulnerable. Begin Phase 1 of the operation. The first human attack came without warning. Captain Park Ye-jin piloted her fighter squadron out of the shadow of an asteroid. Her 12 ships appeared just long enough to fire their weapons at an alien cruiser, then vanished back into stealth mode. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire, and the aliens still had no idea where the attack came from. Admiral Keth Ron screamed orders at his crews, but his ships could not respond to threats they could not detect. Human vessels appeared, fired devastating volleys, and disappeared like ghosts. The alien fleet began firing randomly into empty space, hoping to hit something by accident. But their weapons found only vacuum. Dr. Yoon-Hai Ri had spent decades studying alien psychology and warfare from her research station on the moon. She knew that most species in the galaxy were either completely peaceful or completely aggressive. They followed predictable patterns in combat that made them easy to counter. Humans were different. Humans could adapt their fighting style to any situation. They could be patient hunters or furious berserkers depending on what the enemy expected. The aliens had come prepared to fight an enemy that would meet them in open battle with large fleets and traditional tactics. Instead, they faced an enemy that fought like shadows. Colonel Li Dong Wu led a squadron of heavy cruisers in a coordinated strike against the alien fleet. His ships emerged from hyperspace directly behind the enemy formation, fired their main guns, and jumped away before the aliens could even turn around. 3 more alien ships exploded, and the enemy admiral was beginning to panic. The alien fleet tried to group together for mutual protection, but this only made them easier targets for human weapons. Commander Yang Soo-bin positioned her ships around the bunched-up aliens like wolves, surrounding sheep. Her invisible fleet fired from all directions, creating a deadly crossfire that the aliens could not escape. Captain Oh Min-soo watched from his battleship as the alien formation fell apart. Some enemy ships tried to run, but human vessels were waiting at every escape route. Others attempted to fight, but they were shooting at empty space, while real threats attacked from unexpected angles. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could be everywhere and nowhere at once. On the command ship, Admiral Keth Ron finally understood what was happening. The humans were not fighting like any species he had encountered before. They used stealth and deception instead of brute force. They struck from multiple directions instead of meeting him head-on. They were fighting a completely different kind of war. He tried to send a message to the Galaxy Council warning them about human capabilities, but Commander Ryu Soo-jin had anticipated this. Her electronic warfare specialists jammed all alien communications. The Council would learn nothing about human tactics until it was too late. The battle lasted only 2 hours. When it ended, 47 alien ships had been destroyed and turned into floating debris. The remaining 3 vessels fled back toward Council space, carrying news that would shock the galaxy. The mighty Council fleet had been completely crushed by an enemy they never saw coming. Dr. Shin-Hai-1 analyzed the battle data from her laboratory on Mars. The aliens had fought exactly as predicted, using overwhelming firepower and direct assault tactics. They were brave and skilled, but they followed patterns that humans had studied for decades. The Council had made every species they conquered fight the same way, but humans refused to follow alien rules of warfare. They used stealth when enemies expected direct assault. They attacked from multiple dimensions when enemies prepared for single-front battles. They turned the aliens' own expectations against them and won a victory that should have been impossible. Captain Song Ji-hun docked his stealth cruiser at the hidden base inside an asteroid. His crew was celebrating, but he remained focused on the larger war. This was just the beginning. The Council would send larger fleets and stronger weapons, but they still would not understand what they were truly fighting. Commander Ryu Sujin sent her report to Earth Command. The first phase of the war was complete. The aliens now knew that humans were dangerous, but they did not know how dangerous the Council would make their next move, based on incomplete information, and that would be their downfall. The news of the battle spread through Council space faster than light 50 warships had been, destroyed by an enemy that remained invisible. Species across the galaxy began to whisper that maybe the Council was not as powerful as they claimed. Maybe there was hope for freedom after all. On Earth, Kim Day read the battle reports with satisfaction. The trap had worked perfectly. The aliens had expected to find a weak enemy and instead discovered a nightmare they could not understand. The Galaxy Council had made their second mistake, underestimating human adaptability. The war was just beginning, but already the balance of power in the galaxy was starting to shift. The news of the Council defeat spread across the galaxy faster than the speed of light. 3,000 warships destroyed in 3 days by a single human planet. The mighty Galaxy Council that had ruled 200 species for 3,000 years was broken. The survivors who escaped the Battle of Sol carried tales of invisible enemies and impossible tactics that no one wanted to believe. Emperor Li Jae-sung stood before the great communication array on Earth, preparing to address the entire galaxy. His message would be broadcast to every inhabited world in Council space, translated into 200 languages, and heard by trillions of beings who had lived under alien oppression for centuries. Citizens of the galaxy. He began, his voice calm, but carrying the authority of absolute victory. The Galaxy Council reign of terror has ended. Today marks the beginning of a new age of freedom among the stars. Any species that wishes to join the Terran Alliance as equals will be welcomed with open arms. Any species that chooses to continue the Council's oppressive ways will be stopped. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours after the broadcast, alien governments across the galaxy began abandoning the Council and requesting membership in the new Terran Alliance. The Zephyrian bird people were first, followed quickly by the crystal beings of Shard Prime, and the plant creatures of Green World Ambassador Yang Mi-Ray established the first Terran embassy on Zephyros Prime, the former capital world of the Galaxy Council. She walked through streets where alien civilians cheered and threw flowers at her feet. Children of dozens of different species ran alongside her transport vehicle, waving flags with the Terran Alliance symbol. The remaining Council loyalists watched helplessly as their empire crumbled around them. Speaker Vextar sat alone in the great Council chambers that had once housed representatives from 200 worlds. Now only 12 species remained loyal to the old regime, and even they were beginning to waver. On the mining world of Rockfall, the local governor Tor Nash received orders from the Council to continue extracting tribute from the enslaved population. But the miners had heard about the human victory and refused to work. Captain Kim Hyun-soo arrived with a small Terran fleet to find the entire planet in peaceful rebellion. The former Council world shared stories of oppression that had lasted for millennia. Species forced to give up their children as soldiers, planets stripped of their natural resources, entire civilizations reduced to slavery by Council demands. The humans offered something the Council never had: partnership instead of domination. Dr. Ko Yun-soo became the first director of the Galactic Relations Department, tasked with helping former Council worlds transition to freedom. Her teams worked around the clock, processing membership applications and coordinating aid shipments to planets that had been drained by Council tribute demands. The transformation was remarkable. Planet after planet began sharing technology, culture, and resources in ways that had been impossible under the old regime. The peaceful aquatic people shared their medical knowledge. The warrior saurian species offered their defensive expertise. The brilliant silicon-based beings contributed their mathematical discoveries. Captain Song Ji-hun led exploration missions to the far edges of Council space, discovering species that had been hiding from alien oppression for centuries. The ethereal energy beings had concealed themselves in distant nebulas. The shy mushroom people had retreated to the galactic rim. Slowly, they emerged to join the growing alliance. But not all transitions were peaceful. Some Council loyalists refused to accept the new order. Military commander Zep Han gathered the remaining loyal fleets and attempted to retake the Zephyros system. Admiral Park Jin-woo responded with a small Terran task force that destroyed the rebel fleet in 6 hours. The battle was broadcast across the galaxy, showing alien viewers how human tactics worked in open space. Stealth ships appeared and vanished at will. Human coordination was perfect, while alien ships stumbled over each other. The message was clear. Resistance to the new order was futile. Former Council Intelligence Chief Mordak attempted to assassinate Ambassador Yang Mi-Ray during a diplomatic ceremony on Crystal Prime. Captain Osu Bin foiled the plot with human agents who had been tracking the alien spy for weeks. The failed assassination only strengthened support for the Terran alliance. General Choi Min-ho established the Alliance Defense Force combining military units from dozens of different species. Human officers trained alien crews in modern tactics while learning about exotic weapons and defensive technologies. The new military was more powerful and flexible than anything the Council had ever fielded. Economic changes were equally dramatic. Planets that had sent tribute to the Council for centuries suddenly had resources to spend on their own people. Infrastructure projects began on hundreds of worlds. Trade networks expanded as species shared goods and services freely for the first time. Commander Ryu Soo-jin coordinated the liberation of Council prison worlds, where political prisoners had been held for generations. The facilities contained millions of beings who had dared to resist Council rule. Scientists, artists, teachers, and leaders who had been silenced were finally free to return home. The cultural renaissance was immediate. Art, music, and literature flourished as species rediscovered their suppressed traditions. The singing, crystals of harmonic prime performed concerts that could be heard across entire star systems. The dream weavers of Sleepy Hollow shared visions that inspired artists throughout the galaxy. Dr. Yoon Hae-ri established the Galactic University System, where beings from all species could study together. Human knowledge combined with alien wisdom created breakthroughs in science, medicine, and technology that benefited everyone. Cancer was cured on 12 different worlds within the first year. The remaining Council holdouts found themselves increasingly isolated as their former allies joined the Terran Alliance speaker. Vex Tar made one final desperate attempt to rally support by claiming that humans were just as oppressive as the Council had been, but his words fell on deaf ears. Director Nam Tae-woo intelligence networks reported growing unrest even among the loyalist worlds. Council governors were being overthrown by their own people. Citizens who had lived in fear for generations were finally standing up for their rights. The old order was collapsing from within. Captain Park Ye-jin led humanitarian missions to worlds devastated by Council exploitation. Her ships carried medical supplies, food, and construction materials to planets that had been strip-mined for centuries. The grateful populations welcomed the humans as liberators and heroes. The galaxy that emerged from the ashes of the Council was fundamentally different than anything that had existed before. For the first time in recorded history, hundreds of different species worked together as equals, sharing knowledge, resources, and dreams. Each world contributed its unique strengths to the common good. Kim Dae looked out from his office at the bustling spaceport, where ships from dozens of species arrived daily carrying diplomats, traders, students, and tourists. The Council ultimatum that was meant to destroy humanity had instead given birth to the greatest alliance in galactic history. The irony was perfect, and complete. The Galaxy Council had demanded human submission and received galactic revolution instead. Their ultimatum had backfired so completely that it became the foundation of a new age of freedom, prosperity, and cooperation among the stars. Humanity had not just survived the alien threat, they had transformed it into something beautiful.